our vice president present. So according to district policy, the first thing that we will do is the board will confer and then they will select a temporary president to call the meeting to order and run the rest of the meeting for the remainder of the evening. So I'm going to pass it off to the board.
Nominate Peter Otona as our president for today. This meeting.
I'll take that as a motion and second it.
All in favor?
Oh, it's a motion,
Yes, I'll
I
say
think.
yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes, aye.
Aye.
Mr. Tona, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the Chino Valley School Board meeting of July the 13th. If we could stand for our pledge of allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is number 4, which is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion for that adoption, please?
I move that we adopt the today's agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is now adopted. We shall now proceed. We have a call to the public. I see we do have one person who'd like to speak. Daryl Lassen, would you like to come up and make your presentation?
That was quick.
Didn't give
Well-
people a chance to doze off, did we?
Yeah, there you go. Okay. First of all, I'm from California. Don't hold that against me. But I've been over here about 17 years. I was a very successful and awarded teacher, counselor, and coach for 45 years. I own my own construction business. I've been around a little bit. My concern is, one, to have, and I was a CTA rep, which is California Teachers Association, and pretty successful there. I'd like to see the board have a standardized time and date each month for your meetings. I understand that's not happening right now. I'm kind of wondering what would be the roadblock in making that a public, consistent thing. So if we do have issues, we can bring them to you, and we can bring people to you on a regular basis or in a scheduled basis for the public. So that's number one. The other thing is, I'm concerned about this low-income housing for teachers, and being a teacher rep and coming from an era of teaching that's, well, pretty frankly, it's a lot different than I'm seeing right now. But I am behind teachers, and I would like to see that I'd like to see the budget, because I'd like to be on a budget committee to help stall low-income housing and allow salaries or whatever it's going to take to allow a teacher to even get a first run or first stage home and buy that home rather than renting or whatever the plan seems to be. So those are my two major concerns.
Okay.
Mr. President, can I think you cannot address, but I can just clarify a couple things.
Sure, yeah, please do.
All right. The normal meeting days are the second Monday at 5 p.m.
Okay.
The reason this was, and there's a couple oddballs. In October, it's during a break, so we do it the Thursday before. March, it's during a break, we do it the Thursday before. This happens to be because of a budget issue. We have a deadline of July 15th. We only adopted the budget at the end of June. We have to have 15 days between the proposed budget and adopted budget. But normally,
Is the second?
it's the second Monday at 5 p.m. in this room. There's one exception. I think we're going to do October in Haldeman is where we normally do October, but it's all announced on the website, but typically the second Monday.
Okay.
There's going to be a discussion later when the board approves the rent amount that you may want to stay for, and you can hear a little bit more about why the board and staff really think this housing is necessary. And so you may want to stay, and then there can be some more during that agenda item. There can be some more back and forth as well.
Is it possible I can be on a committee to ascertain and research into how we can get teachers' salaries to a point where they don't need to rent, where they can own?
There is currently no committee on that. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you about budget. I know Mr. Livingston and I can sit and talk to you about budget as well. And that may be a good start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anybody else here? We don't have any other slips. Okay, thank you. Move on to the agenda. Our next agenda item is number 6A, Mr. Livingston.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Atona?
Yeah.
With hearings, we need a motion to open and then we have a motion to close hearings.
Yeah, the public, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get used to this again. Okay, we have, two public hearings. The first one will be the public hearing on the adjacent ways levy. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I have a motion to open a public hearing
I
on
was,
adjacent ways.
I will second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion, the public hearing is open. Now, Mr. Livingston.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, board members, administration and staff, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of our item 6A is something we've been doing for probably 15 years at least. The revised statutes of Arizona allow districts to raise money locally and have a public hearing to do that. And these are restricted. I'll just describe what we could use them for in the future, what we've used them for in the past. Anything to do with moving students along a school. I've just seen a couple new schools built and you see bus lanes sometimes behind the school, sometimes in front of the school, sometimes on the street. Those areas that we call fire lanes where a fire vehicle or an emergency vehicle may go to put out a fire or to protect students in a situation like that, we can use these funds for. So we had people here last October of 2022, that gave us some quotes to redo some striping and resurfacing and some slurry chip seal and some alligator crack repair and some subsurface removal of aggregate materials and the replacement. And those are easily going to exceed $1 million if we do all those surfaces for all 4 of our buildings, just for fire lane travel. So we've gotten there right now, I think it's on my report here, around 470,000 that we have access to, Fund 620. And this would be for the 23-24 year. Value of a private property, primary assessed value, $250,000. The assessed tax for the district would be $9.93, which is pretty low for our assessed value. Our assessed value jumped from 233,600,000 to 251 million, $18 million jump from the 21-22 year to this year, starting in January of 23. So that's the justification. We've used it in the past for things like fire lanes. We have a $1.5 million project to the west here of Del Rio School for the workforce housing. There's fire lanes involved in that. That's a $70,000 adjacent ways. This is the fund we're talking about, adjacent ways 620 on the truth and tax. That's 70,000. We have the project in front of Del Rio School that's gonna involve a lot of, we've got curb and gutter, we've got a retention pond, we've got fire lane paving and improvements, and there's about 140 to 150,000 in that fund that could be used for that purpose as well. So we're just improving access to schools and safety where buses or fire vehicles would go. And any questions, I'll be glad to discuss them. It's in statute what we're talking about.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. President, I got just something to add that I spoke to the town engineer this afternoon and they're scheduling work on 1 East in front of Territorial in the late spring and summer of next year. So this money could also be used for sidewalks, curbs, and gutters around Territorial in conjunction with the town doing their reconstruction of 1 East.
Yeah, now, is that the wall that will then divert the water from the playground?
No, the wall is currently under construction and that will be done well before that. So this would be as they do the sidewalk or as they do the road, we've been, had very good relationships with the town. When they do construction, we can piggyback on that. We give them our adjacent ways money. They use it to construct the sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. And so that would be going just along. One of the things that adjacent ways can be used for is improvements to the property adjacent to our property, to the district property. And so the town can use it on their property as long as it butts up against district properties for the sidewalks, curbs and gutters. So we use the town as the contractor, give them the money while they have their people out there doing the work. They just also do that.
And it's nice because it saves 2 contracts. That way,
Right.
we all have one contract, one administration, and all the overhead costs.
Correct.
For us are less that way.
So that's brand new. That just, I found that out this afternoon. And that, this money, the 250 along with the next year's 250, along with what we have in the bank can be utilized for that.
Any questions from the board? Okay, any questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick one. When you mentioned Del Rio, just to clarify, because I always think of the front as being where it used to be instead of where it is now. So which road were you mentioning there would be the work done on?
It'd be on 2 North.
It would be too much, okay.
Right now, the front of the front quote of Del Rio is actually to the south. And,
Well, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, the original.
right, no, it's, right now, it's to the south. And so the corner, it's on the corner of 1 West and 2 North is the dirt parking lot.
Okay.
That's what's gonna get paved. And the pavement will go all the way along 2 North. And there's gonna be retention ponds kind of on the other side of the front office for drainage. Kind of in the playground area. We're gonna have to,
Just cut
yeah,
it
we're gonna
down.
have to fence some of the playground off for that.
Okay. I'm with you now.
Okay. Seeing no other questions or comments, do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
I motion to close this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is now closed. We'll go on to our next agenda. Do I have a motion for opening the public hearing on the adoption of the district expenditure budget?
I will motion to open the public hearing
The district expenditure budget.
of district expenditure budget. Yes, oh, here it is, district expenditure budget. I was looking for it and I couldn't find
Well, we'll be hearing a lot more about it.
it.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Livingston, you're on again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So we discussed this at length back on June 26th. There's 3 or 4 factors to mention. I'll start with the continued strength of the sales tax in the state that drives the teacher fund. It's our 010 fund. It's called Classroom Site Fund. We've been getting $160,000 a month all of last year and $160,000 a month this year as well. And that's our percent of those revenues. So our Fund 010 is expected to still bring those amounts in. And that allows us to take our $11,000 we've been giving teachers this year up to 13 for next year. And it also allows us to go back if we need to under the fund balance, which was pretty strong. That's the first fund I'd like to look at. Fund 691 is our school facilities board fund. To date, this is as of July 6th. We have brought in and spent, and that's on your June 30th report, $1,813,000. That did not include the $997,000 we spent today. Again, these are the large contractors, Pueblo Mechanical and their construction administration engineer firm, EMC2, another $997,000. So we know we've got about 21 million to go, both of these projects, but they are bringing in materials, getting materials ready to install, and we're hopeful that we'll have quite a bit of that in the next 3 to 4 months. So that's Fund 691 summary. Any questions on those funds, 010, the classroom site, or 691's building renewal?
Proceed on, sir.
And the other ones that I'd like to just touch on briefly, because we have some numbers that have dropped just a bit. If you look at page 1 on the cover sheet, you see the amount here on our operating budget. We've knocked this down just a bit. The operating fund, 150,000, and the capital fund, 350,000. Just to be on the cautious side, I discussed this with the county school superintendent's office, and they would just like us to stay where we're at with those numbers, knocking down from the 19,860,000 on the M&O side to the 19,710,000. We know that this last year, year ended June 30th of 23. We spent right on 17 million in our M&O budget. And we know that next year we're going up probably around 19,710,000, could be 19,800,000. But again, talking with the school's office, that's what they thought we should do, reduce that based on a couple unknowns. One unknown is, of course, how much we're gonna have to carry over from this year to next year, which we're right at that point where we're just closing and doing adjusting entries. These numbers look really solid. And then, again, we may be able to increase, once we know our student count and our final costs for this year, right back up to where we were on the proposed. We can reduce from the proposed numbers. We can reduce once we adopt. We just can't increase once we propose. So we're talking about this slight reduction just to stay within statute. And it's nice, like we did last year. We were able to increase when we found out our 100th day count in March, increase our budgets by about 500,000. And it'd be nice to be able to do that again this year if student count justifies that.
Quick question for either John. Do we have any feeling that now we're getting close to registration for the next year, how our thoughts on the student count may be?
We're still estimating flat. Our kinder numbers are strong. Kinder's always the wild card because, as of last week, I think we had 120 kinders somewhere in there, which is right on line. And we get a lot of those last minute enrollees. We have Jumpstart, I believe, starting next week. And so, the kinder's the wild card. We're holding fairly stable right now. We'll, of course, know more once that August 2nd comes and we do that 10-day count, and we'll have something more for you. I think it's on the 14th or something, I think, is our next meeting of August, and we'll have some more solid numbers then. But we feel that we're fairly stable right now.
So at this point, everything is based budget-wise and everything on a flat enrollment for this coming year.
Yes.
Conservative?
Until we have clear evidence that we're in either a steep increase or a steep
Yeah,
decline, we'll
well,
just keep budgeting.
I'm remembering back to many, many years ago when everybody was wildly optimistic about the growth in this area. And, I'm really glad, I wasn't trying to lead anybody, but I was really glad to hear you say that, because that way, we will always be theoretically better than we have projected from an income standpoint. So I'm sorry, a little extra. Okay, any
And
questions?
that's really all I have for the adopted budget. This would be adopting our beginning steps for next year's budget, and then we'll revise it at least twice more based on numbers we receive.
And we've had some good detailed presentations up to today, but are there any new questions from the board? If not, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, the meeting is closed. Thank you very much. Okay, our next agenda is item number 7A, the superintendent's report.
All right. The report is actually under tab 7A. I usually have it as an extra, but it's actually in the packet this time. So when I wrote this, we had 3 staff members. Right now we have 2, and we think we filled ag. Are we close to filling ag? Yes. So we officially have an ag position open and a middle school resource. We think we filled ag. Still looking for that resource position, but we've got some contingency plans. So I think we're really good and most of our classified staff positions are also filled. So I'm really happy with where we're at. We have one international teacher that we're going to be waiting on, but they are anticipated hopefully in August sometime. But other than that, we're in good shape staff-wise. Let's see, construction update. And again, we'll talk about the teacherage in a little bit, but if you drive by, they've gone vertical on all 10 units. It's anywhere from the windows and sheeting and the first material on the roof to just sticks. So the septic is in and everything else. So we're good on the teacherage. The bathrooms are near done. They just need to put in toilet paper rolls and paper towels. We're still working on some kitchen equipment that we have. You might hear the roof being worked on here. It's also at the farmhouse. So that's currently happening. The HMS bus lane is, I believe, actually done. We're working on the health office floor at Del Rio, cafeteria floor at the high school may be finished, but that's gonna look really nice. We talked about the tech playground wall. The fire reconstruction is still under work at the building here. I know that the fire alarm at the middle school has been driving staff crazy because it's being tested right now. So that's been a 2-year project, so we're excited that that's getting close to done. And of course, the district office roof right now. Our upcoming projects include remodeling of this west gym right here. The parking lot pavement we talked about at Del Rio. The gym HVAC we're working on, it's at high school. The district roofing project and HVAC install is scheduled for August start. I do want to mention, we now have the white building at the high school, which is actually, it was not painted. You don't paint things, we weatherize. So the main building at the high school was weatherized and it looks beautiful. If you have a chance to go into the Chino Valley High School and the Heritage Middle School gyms, and we'll be having an event at the middle school gym at least. You can see the beautiful new bleachers, and at the middle school, they have a great looking floor. So lots of stuff going on as far as construction goes. And again, we'll talk about the teacherage in a little bit. Strategic planning process, we have a core team meeting on July 27th at 3:00 in this room.
That's the 26th.
Is it whatever that Thursday is? What's Thursday?
Is it 27th?
It's Thursday the 27th then. And I'll verify that with y'all.
All right.
At that meeting, the team will review and discuss drafts of the revision or the vision and mission statements along with core beliefs and values, discuss the portrait of a graduate. And I've included the drafts that the ASBA has put together if that's something that the board wants to use. We have the calendar coming up. The new teacher breakfast is on July 24th. Please note, new location, Del Rio School.
Oh, okay.
It is not at the high school culinary arts building. It is at the Del Rio cafeteria if you are attending. So that is 7:30, Del Rio cafeteria, new location, new teacher breakfast. Our all staff meeting or convocation is on Monday, the 31st. That's going to be for you guys, 9 o'clock. If you want breakfast, come earlier. Come at 7:30 if you want breakfast, 9 o'clock if you just want to participate in the speakers and picture. Our first day of school is August 2nd. The next board meeting is the second Monday of August, which is August 14th. And that's all I have, except if there's, there's also a calendar of events, of other events. If you flip the page of all the beginning of school year events that are taking place, trainings, meet the teachers, orientations, schedule distributions, things like that are all on that page.
Is the core meeting on at 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
Okay. I just
And
wanted
the
to-
dinner is 3 to 7 and dinner is provided.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Shaw? Very good, thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is 7B1, the financial reports. We're back to Mr. Livingston.
Great. Consolidated board report. So I like to, at this time of year, give you at least 2 reports for the end of last year, as far as financials. So June 30th, where were we on our budget? We know our M&O budget was $18,075,000. And these expenditures are still coming in with invoices that haven't been fully paid yet. When I wrote this on July 6th, last week, the expenditures were 17.2 million. We've since been able to move some of those expenditures to other funds. You know, we've got about 6 funds that don't have sufficient revenue and cash throughout the year to support themselves. So we short-term borrow from our M&O fund over to these funds, and that's what's noted on the grant and encumbrances here. And that has not been completed yet. But as of last July 6th, last week, 17.2 million and unexpended 867,000 and still encumbered 263,000. Most of that has been taken care of. We have about till August 10th maybe the 20th if we really need it to pay last year's bills, if we have some late bills. Capital, about the same, our budget almost 3 million, and that again includes some transfers from M&O that we're gonna move back once these teachers that are in ESSER funds come back. So we're trying to put as much cash in there as possible. Expense 2.2 million, encumbrances 240,000. Those are nearly paid. So I'll give you another one of these reports pertinent to the month of June after the month of July is over, and I'll just keep giving you an up-to-date report. Our next meeting is August 14th. You'll get expenses right up to August 14th from the 23 year. And then these numbers, the expense will go down, hopefully, encumbrances will definitely go down, but we're really close to having expenses finalized. Any questions on last year's situation, condition?
So John, basically what you're saying, it wouldn't be until the August meeting that we really have the final report on last fiscal year.
Yes. Yeah. And then at the August meeting, you'll also have a report for the first month, the July year for the new year. So I like to just, if you just humor me, it's important for me to know that you know that where we're at financially. So
If I may, Mr. Tona, I want to point out that, you know, that 737,000 carry forward right now is closer to 800,000, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Tona? Or Mr. Livingston?
Yeah.
Very healthy. I think that's a great number to have. We're not close to, that's something that we want to maintain about that amount every year. That gives us that buffer that if something happens, that, who knows what would happen, but could be we don't have to worry about the aggregate expenditure limit, but we will in 2 years. That kind of helps us and can get us through some rough spots if need be. So it's healthy. I think it's a reasonable amount. And I want to thank Mr. Livingston. I know that's a goal of his to get to that amount and maybe a little bit more. But I think it's really good. And it's a sign of a healthy budget.
Well, I'm impressed too by his ability to know which fund to move cash into and out of. That's far beyond my skill level of knowledge, but every month I just sit here in awe in that ability. So, and John knows I love to talk to him about that. Any other questions from the board? Okay. And we will move on now to agenda item number 7B2, the Student Activity Fund report.
okay, if we look at these funds for the month ended June, 1 second here. We see that the encumbrances are actually at 0. And that took a little bit of work on our department, finance office and the business office, just to get, a lot of these are sports related. And there's year-end tournaments and year-end fundraisers, year-end activities. And in some cases, we've had to combine certain things to get these to that point. But it's been a year or two since we've ended and have no encumbrances at year-end. So that really makes it nice for the new either sponsors or advisors coming in to run this group or this sport or this activity in the next year, that at least the prior year bills have been paid. So I don't have any comments. If anyone else does, that's just
Any questions of Mr. Livingston? Hearing none. Thank you, sir. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. And Mr. Scholl.
Nope, this is just you move on.
Move.
You asked for a motion and
Okay.
I move to
Approve.
adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, no other comments on that, so we'll move on to the counselor's schedule update. And Heidi. That's so exciting up front here, I can understand.
Good evening, board members and Mr. Scholl. So if you look at the personnel report and the supplement, you'll,
this is not quite yet. The
Oh.
counseling schedule.
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So, so we've updated the counselor salary schedule to reflect our 23-24 wage increase. So if you're looking at it, you can see that we're giving up to 10 years experience and up to the level of education. So that is just to go in place with our increase of salaries.
Okay. Any questions from the board? This is an action item, so therefore I'm looking for a motion to approve the counselor's new salary schedule.
I will motion to approve the counselor's new salary schedule.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. And it is approved. Okay, now we will move on to the personnel report. Ms. Daly, not, or
I'm gonna do it.
you're
You're gonna do
Okay.
it. She's doing a job.
So if you look at the personnel report and the supplement, everybody's been very busy, administrators, the staff. So we have 5 new certified staff members, 9 new classified, 3 resignations, 8 certified changes, 10 classified changes. It's that time of year we get all of our coaches on board. So we have 23 coaches and 157 timesheets.
are there any questions from the board? Ms. Wolf? Okay, then this is an action item. May I have a motion for approval of the personnel report?
I will motion to approve the personnel report,
Can
As
I,
amended. Oh,
including the supplement if you
Oh,
want.
including the supplement.
Thank you.
okay, second,
Yes, seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
It is
you.
now approved. Okay, now we're to the adoption of the adjacent ways levy, item number 10A. Mr. Livingston.
Just to recap, you have before you, board members, the cost, the summary of what we put in the newspaper. We noticed this back on June 28th to meet statute, so that whenever there is any proposed increase in this fund or any usage of this fund, bringing in local levies, there will be a public hearing and that legal requirement was met. I've had no comments or concerns at my office with people concerned with this item. I don't know if there's been any tonight either. Help the district meet its financial obligations to keep the district current with everything from curb and gutter to fire lanes for our students.
John, this shows it's only discussion item. Shouldn't this be an action item?
Yeah, it is an action item, yes.
We can talk about it all we want, but if we don't take action on it,
Yep.
no more money coming.
Yep.
Okay, we will then consider this an action item. Any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from anybody in attendance? Seeing none, do I have a motion, please?
I will motion to approval of adoption of the 23, 24 budget.
Nope.
No, this is
Prior.
the 200,
Oh, the prior.
yeah, the
See, I'm
250,000.
learning. I'm trying
Yeah.
to, all right. Okay, I will, a motion to approve the $250,000 ancient ways levy.
Do I have a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is now approved. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 10B. Again, Mr. Livingston, this is the adoption of the 23-24 budget.
Yes, so with this motion in front of you, if you proceed to adopt, then when we do payroll, when we do expense vouchers, they're authorized and budgeted and approved. These numbers have taken close to 30 hours with checking and rechecking. Last time we did mention the $611,000 that the state gave us for one-time money for the 23-24 year. And that will go away, so we will just do our best as the finance team to keep you updated on things as they may change or evolve over time. But this is the best numbers. Every number that you see on here has been validated with the exception of what we're actually going to bring forward from the prior year to this year. That's still, we still need about a month to close all bills from last year. That's the only exception.
Any questions from the board? John?
I just have a comment because Mr. Livingston mentioned the $611,000. I want to comment that that is going to be paid to certified staff members. So our teachers, counselors, teachers on assignment, therapists, psychologists, everyone that has a certificate, that's going to go towards, they're going to get $4,000 throughout the year, $1,000 with the classroom site fund payments. So And that's a one-time payment only. That's been cleared to staff that that's only gonna be happen one time. But we wanted to make sure we put that as much money into teacher pockets as we could. This is one way, or staff pockets. This is one way to do that.
Any questions from the board?
Now, if things go up or something, you know how prices are going up, and has something happen that we have to repair or we have an emergency, we'll have enough money to cover that? You know what I'm saying?
So there's two answers to the question.
Okay.
The first is, we do have the $28 million approved by the state for our 691 fund, and that's on an as applied for, as awarded basis. So when you say if things go wrong, then we also have things like Superintendent Scholl just mentioned, we do have a farmhouse activity with the roof damage issue. We have insurance that covers that.
Okay,
So we have that source of funds. We hate to use insurance because our
Right.
premiums then usually climb.
yeah,
And then we do have the obligation in our capital fund to fix other things that may go wrong with facilities.
okay.
But we're feeling much better about that because it's fully funded now. For years, the district was getting on a statutory formula that should have been bringing in 1.1 to 1.3 million based on our student count. For years, we were getting less than 400,000 per year. So that is still on the district if things, like you say, go wrong. But with this huge, well, it is huge. I haven't spoken to any districts in the state that have ever had $28 million one year, like from School Facilities Board, for old projects that needed to be done. So back to then, if we do have an emergency of graphic proportions, we would come to you at a board meeting after we deal with the emergency for you to approve us acting the best way we can. And we've had about 6 of these in the last 3 years. It was July 4th of 2021 when the fire panel got lightninged out. So it's been 2 years and a week since that happened. But we've had our insurance involved, we've had assessors involved, we've had engineers involved. So we like to come to you and say, we had to expend these dollars back in May of 21. Heritage Middle School had a water event and some pipes burst. And we brought in 2 companies before our next board meeting to immediately deal with that so the damage doesn't get worse. So we have the obligation to notice and respond and then get your approval later. We can call that an emergency procurement, and we don't necessarily have to get bids because it might be midnight. We had a deal here. What was that, when the well went out at the farm, maybe back in March, and I get a call Saturday morning about 7 o'clock. Well, I was actually here at the time, so I get a call from our voc ed director. Can we get someone out here to service the well? Because we have an employee in that residence out here at our farm building, and by about 2 o'clock that Saturday, that well was serviced, and the well didn't have a problem, just the pump did.
Yeah.
So, and then we bring it to you later as an emergency response. So that's our protocol. And then funds are, again, available, but sometimes they're very competitive, especially if it's a long-term issue like lack of HVAC or lack of weatherization. So that's the long answer, but we have a quick response and then we look for cash later, and we usually have cash in hand.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to clarify that.
Sir, would you like to make a question or comment? If
Right,
you would,
yeah.
please come
Is
forward.
the-
Oh, sir, you need to come forward to the podiums so we can get you on the mic.
Daryl Lassen again. Is the 2024 budget available to the public?
Yes, it will be posted on the website once it's adopted.
Once it's adopted, but is the proposed budget open to the public?
Yes.
And where is that?
The link will be on our webpage. I'm not sure if it's there right at this second, but that's where it will be on. our
It's at Arizona Department of Education.
Okay, and how much time is it between the point where you propose it online to the point where you want to approve it?
A minimum of 15 days, but that's been, we had the proposed budget in June. And then this is for the adopted budget.
We actually had a detailed review of the proposed budget a month ago at a public hearing.
Okay. But it's not online at that point.
Yes, it's posted that night on the
The
website.
material was, for every board meeting, is posted online.
Okay,
So you had access to all of everything that we get.
Not quite, just the agenda.
The agenda, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The agenda.
But so you knew that if you wanted to hear our discussion last month, it was on the agenda, and we had a nice discussion last month
okay.
about that. And then this is really just the formal part of the formal adoption of what we have been discussing for a month, 6
But
weeks
I
now.
mean, as far as the public is concerned, dollars going one place or another, are the dollar amounts there a month before you adopt?
A minimum of 15 days.
15 days, and they're on your school,
They're on the
District site?
ADE website, the Department of Education website.
and then Chino Valley School District, I guess.
There's a school finance button, I think, on the Department of Education homepage that you can click on for, and
Okay.
it's a little clunky, but it can get there.
So,
That's out of our control.
okay. Well, I just want to make it easy for people to take a look, and
Uh-huh.
have debate or whatever. Can I make a comment on the next one, or you want me to wait?
We have to wait to that.
Okay,
And is it Mr. Lassen?
yes.
The other thing is you're always, please, we have open doors. You're welcome to come talk to me. You're welcome to come talk to Mr. Livingston.
Okay.
Sit down anytime, go over that. That's what we're here for.
Cool.
So we have an open door. We're not, we encourage people to come that are interested. To be honest, we appreciate you here because there's hardly anyone here. We have 3 guests, I think. That's the most we've had cumulative in the last 6 months. So you're welcome to come talk. We'd be more than happy to sit down with you and go over everything.
I'd like to have the community more involved. That's all I'm
We would love that too.
saying. Okay, thanks.
That's a goal.
Now, what's the secret of how to make it happen? Okay. Any other discussion on the budget? If not, I'd like a motion for the adoption of the 23-24 budget.
I'll move to approve the adoption of the 2023-2024 budget.
And I will second that.
All in favor, please say aye. It is now adopted. Okay. We'll now move on to agenda item 10C, establish the monthly rent amounts for the teacherage. And Mr. Scholl.
So a couple things. I know Mr. Lassen had a question about the need, and so a couple things. I did an analysis. I'm doing a presentation at the Arizona Rural Schools Association meeting in September, and I've been putting some stuff together. One was I took a starting teacher salary, $50,000, and figured out what their biweekly take home would be. After you take out retirement, which is 12.3%, Social Security, Medicare, along with what the normal taxes would be, and a take home on a biweekly basis about $1,300 for a starting teacher. So this came out. This I found on Signals AZ, which is a news outlet, and it's basically the PAR report, the Prescott Area Realtors Association, or Prescott Area Association of Realtors (PAAR). These are the cumulative year-to-date housing sales in the area. And in Chino Valley, there's been 157 houses sold. The median sale price, which is the middle, not the average, but the median sale price is $415,000. So house in Chino Valley, the median price is $415,000. Putting 20% down, your mortgage is probably $2,500 a month, give or take. I didn't do the exact amount, but when you factor in taxes and insurance and everything else, that's probably about where you'd be. I have in the same article that was on Signals AZ, they had just the June sales. The average price for June in Chino Valley was $440,000 for a home. The median price was $440,000. Also, in your packet, there is this was in April that I did this, an analysis of rentals in the area. In April in Chino Valley, there were 2, and this is on rent.com. I just went to rent.com, fairly well-known website that kind of scours different sources for rentals. In 86323 Chino Valley, there were 7 total rentals. The high rental, and what I did was took the monthly rent, divide by the number of bedrooms. There were no 1-bedroom apartments, by the way, available. The high was $975 per bedroom. The low was $607 per bedroom, and the average was $765 per bedroom. There were no available rentals in Prescott Valley. In Paulden. In 86301, which is just one of the zip codes in Prescott, There were several. The high was 17, the low was 575, lower than Chino Valley, but the average was 1,025 per bedroom. But what you have to remember is it would cost a teacher about $100 a month to get from Prescott to Chino Valley for gas, for fuel. In 86304, one of the zip codes in the main zip code in Prescott Valley, there were some one bedrooms, a couple. They had a one bedroom on Main Street for $1,695. They had a one bedroom on Market Street for $1,605. One bedroom on Florentine for $1,445. The high was $1,695. The low was $575. The average was $859 in Prescott Valley. Again, you're talking another $100 a month to get from Prescott Valley to Chino. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's out there, what's going on. We did for Mr. Lassen's, for him, we did a staff survey of just what's going on economically with our employees. And one of the number one stressors was the cost of housing. We also have, and this is anecdotal, we have a cohort of international teachers that had trouble finding housing because they have no credit. They came here, they were in they've been in a couple different houses. They actually live in Prescott because that's where they could find a place to live and don't drive. So I've driven them a couple times, and I know that we have a staff member that drives them and takes them home on a regular basis. And I try to be the substitute, but they don't like driving with the superintendent. I don't know why, but that's just, so, we have, and then we have a staff member that has expressed interest in our teachers that lives in Ashford. We have some that live in Prescott and Prescott Valley. We have one that lives with their parent that wants to get out of their parents' home. So these are some of the situations that we have. And the housing is done. It's going to happen. It's paid for. We got a it's a $1.5 million project. We got a grant for $500,000 of that. The remainder, about $930, is going to be financed. $70,000 in adjacent ways is what we're anticipating. The $900,000 is so it's financed over 9 years. Is that correct? And so the rents would come in and offset not all of it, but a good chunk of that annual payment to our finance company. So that's kind of where we're at. Based on the rents that you see in front of you, my recommendation is $550 for a monthly rent. What would happen, and you already approved this, or actually you're going to approve it later, to get into the home would require 1 month's security deposit and the first month's rent. The security deposit we would work with, and actually Ms. Wolf is going to be the administrator administrating as HR director, our teacherage. We could make arrangements to pull out maybe $50 a paycheck over 11 pays to kind of help somebody coming in if they were new to the district and hadn't been paid, things like that. We've had plenty of interest in the homes without really even advertising when they're available. Right now, we're anticipating end of August, beginning of September of them being available. We had one gentleman and I think I shared this with you, that applied strictly because he saw us on TV that we had a house, and he applied asking if there was housing available. I think, to be honest, I think he lived with his parents as well. And so there is the need. It's tough to live in the community. It's almost impossible for our teachers to buy a house. And as a former teacher, Mr. Lassen, our number one, my focus and the direction that I got from my board was put money in teachers' pockets. And that's what our goal is when we do the budget and do salaries and things like that. So, but my proposal, I'm proposing and asking for you to set the rent rate, the monthly rent for the teacherage units at $550. And I'll take any questions you may have.
And John, you might want to also comment, this teacherage is only taking a small portion of that entire site that the district owns. So if this is successful it is possible that there may be future projects.
There'd have to be some significant infrastructure sewer, basically. We're maxed out on the sewer for the single parcel, but it's not that far away. It's just one road away. It goes to Walgreens, and all I have to do is get to the corner, and it may down the road in the future. And then that would open up that site to, we potentially, depending on how things go, it could be another 30, 40 units that went on that property if the need was there. We're starting with 10. Let's see how that goes. And that'll take care of our certified staff, maybe 8-9% of our certified staff.
Mike, you had a question?
So this was financed, how did that impact our M&O and capital budgets, the spending on this particular project?
So of the $1.5 million, the 500,000 is a matching grant that we have from the Yavapai County and Coconino County Education Services Agencies, county schools offices in Coconino and Yavapai counties. That was a pass-through grant from the Department of Education. So a third of it's a grant funded. About $70,000 is going to be adjacent ways, because we have a fire lane that goes around the homes. So that fire lane, we still need to get that approved. We don't anticipate it being an issue. It's just paperwork, to be honest. But that we anticipate $70,000, as according to the documents that we have. The remaining $930,000 is a municipal bond through Kansas State Bank. I believe that was the annual payment, $930, something like that.
Well, the annual payment's 138,000. 8 annual payments.
Oh,
for that,
okay, 100, yeah,
138,000.
138, there we go.
You do the math, 100,000, 8 times 800,000, another 40, basically, another 240, so about $1,060,000 total charges. So superintendent's right on when he says, $6,000 per year per unit ballpark. For 10 years, there's 600,000. Then you do 20 years, there's like a 20-year payoff, so to speak, for that 1.2. Probably year 17 is about where we start to kind of break even.
In the interim, it would be capital that we'd have to dip into for the remaining 40,000 or so annually to make up that payment for the 8 payments.
Just during the term of the loan.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And this still is supposed to be temporary housing for our
So
teachers?
I call it transitional housing. It's not meant to be permanent housing forever. I walked through it this weekend, and it's small. It's 375 square feet. It's got a nice wall, so there is a bedroom area. It's not closed off with a door. There's a small living area, a small kitchen, a bathroom. What I think is cool is a washer dryer 1 unit. So it's you put the clothes in, it washes and then dries it in the same unit. It's standalone, so you have neighbors close by within like 15, 20 feet, but it is a standalone unit. With what we're seeing, the construction's great. With what we're seeing, I think it should be very nice for, we had talked about this last time. The limit's going to be 2 adults or an adult and 2 minor children. That would be tight. It's not meant to be luxurious, but it's a place to bring in. It's meant for staff retention and recruitment. Bring people in and keep them here when we have them. And hopefully get them on their feet so that they can either go into their a bigger rental later, or hopefully down the road, they could buy their own home.
So John, I wasn't quite sure your answer to my question.
Yes,
That it's being grant funded.
a third of it is.
Okay, the rest of it will come out of
M&O. Yes, well, a little bit out of adjacent ways, but most of it will come out of M&O. Well, that's not true, because 40,000 a year will come out of M&O. 60,000 will come out of rent payments. Thank you. Did that answer? Was that good? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, we have a recommendation.
I think we have.
Oh, sir, would you like to make another comment?
No, where are you guys at? Okay. Is it possible down the line you guys can think about renting to own?
It's district property, so it's not something we can sell. We'll never be able to sell this.
But you're thinking about maybe having other units. I'm just throwing that out.
If the need is there.
Yes, okay.
And on the same site.
I know there's other districts, and where was it? Someone was talking to me about this today. There's a district and it'll come to me, that's doing an RV park. No, it's Yavapai College, actually, is doing a RV park in the Verde Valley.
Okay.
And then, so that's something we could do down the road, is have an RV park. Somebody can bring their own unit onto that pad, stay in the RV, it's their RV, when they can either sell it to the next person or move it off when it's time that they
Step in
leave.
the right direction. Okay,
Yeah.
am I hearing you right? $1,300 a month is the starting wage for a teacher.
Take home,
Take home. Right.
Take home.
take home.
Oh, take home.
$1,300.
You scared me.
And it's bi-weekly, that's bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
That's bi-weekly.
So
2,600.
basically, the beginning salary is how much gross?
50,
50 a year.
yes.
And are these teachers that you're hiring, are they required to get an advanced degree, master's degree?
No, not in Arizona.
Okay, and the online place again for the budget is what again?
The Arizona Department of Education website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Now, any last comments or questions from the board? In that case, I'd like a motion, please.
I'll second it. Oh, you
Oh,
want me to-
I was-
oh, you want me
I
to-
was
I
saying
thought
go
you were-
ahead.
I'm sorry.
I didn't make the motion, but
I will approve the rental cost analysis for 2023.
Well, no, we're right down to the bottom, approve the monthly rent of
Right
$5.
above that.
Oh, approve a monthly rent of $550 for each teacher each unit, along with a deposit equal to the 1 month's rent.
There we go.
and I'll second that.
Okay, do I have a motion, a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it is now approved.
I'm sorry.
Okay, our next agenda item is approval of this Chino Valley High School policy that does not allow online charter school students to participate in athletics. Mr. Dunn.
Yes, hi, thank you, board members, for having me here today. Mr. Scholl, Matt Dunn, the athletic director at the high school. I'd like to propose that Chino Valley votes today that online charter school students are not to participate in sports due to the funding that's taking away from our other students that are enrolled in our schools. Also, at the same, can I go on to the next one? And also.
No, one item at a time, sorry.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. I mean, there are children that have to do work online and their parents pay taxes, just like every other parent, so they will not be able to participate. Is that what you're saying?
At this point, that's the way we have done this in the past. I mean, I believe the school board can vote on if you guys want to charge an additional fee for that student to come to us, because we are paying fees to bring that student along.
And I think part of the concern, there's a couple. One is that we get funding based on students. We would get no funding for that student that would be an athlete from a charter school. The funding actually goes to that charter school. So the taxes don't come here. The taxes end up going to that charter school. The other thing is that we value having students part of the culture of the school. You know, athletics is just part of Chino Valley High School, and we want kids to participate in all parts of the high school in order to participate in athletics. And it's important that we have a culture that athletics is one part of that. And we have the academics, the athletics, the other extracurricular activities. So that is also an important part of being a Chino Valley
I
High School
just thought
student.
I would ask that
Right.
question.
And to be honest, my opinion is I'll say consequences, or, you know, there's things that when you choose a school, there's things that go along with that. Some are good, some are bad. When you choose an online charter school, you have you can do work at home, but you can't participate in athletics, at least not in Chino Valley High School.
I just thought I would ask.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Dunn?
Yeah, I'd like to raise another point regarding this. To what extent are tax dollars allocated to the school district allocated then to athletics? Or let me put it another way. Much of our athletic programs are not funded by tax dollars.
The things that the coaches are paid for using tax dollars. Mr. Dunn. We have another middle school athletic director. We have, there's some supplies, but much of it is in tax credit. And Cindy, you have,
Transportation, the fields, the facilities, custodians for cleaning, the mowing, all of that is district money. The overwhelming majority of athletics is funded by the district.
it's really the equipment, actually the personal equipment, the big equipment like soccer goals and stuff like that are paid for through the district. But, you know, uniforms typically are paid through tax credit, that kind of stuff. But, you know, most of it is paid for by district funds. And then this student would not necessarily be paying into that.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, then this is an action item, so could I have a motion to approve the policy as presented by Mr. Dunn?
I approve that CVHS does not allow online charter school students to participate in athletics.
Well, it can fail from lack of second if you're opposed to it.
But you can second.
No, I can't?
Yes,
I didn't realize I could.
you can make a motion and you can second.
Okay, well, okay, then, so we can get to a vote at least.
Yeah.
I will second it. Now, we will then call all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And in the case of a tie, I can vote.
You vote anyway.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and I will vote aye. Okay, Mr. Dunn, after that little bit of excitement, you're now on for the homeschool students to participate in CVHS athletics if all documentation has been submitted and verified.
All right. So at this time, I'd like to propose that homeschool students who are truly homeschooled, their parents are fully in charge of their education, and they have documentation from the county that it meets the requirements, are eligible to participate in our sporting programs.
This is to avoid students getting education service accounts money, going to a private school. There's no way to track that. And so by them registering with the county, they cannot register with the county if they're taking a voucher. So a true homeschooler, like Mr. Dunn is saying, they're not getting money to educate their kid from the state. The parents are doing the education. Those are the kids that would be eligible for to participate in athletics, which is state law.
Okay, now,
So historically, the policy has been to allow homeschool students to participate in our sports.
Says we have to.
Yeah,
What's
so
happened,
I'm not sure what's
because
going
there's
on.
been the growth of the education service accounts,
Uh-huh.
that's when we had to start making sure that they were actually registered as a homeschooler, rather than just say they're a homeschooler, not registered in a school someplace.
There is a difference. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one is taking state money, one's not.
Right. Right.
And that's, we want to make sure that they are not getting an education service account fund money. That makes them a homeschooler when they don't take money. They can then register with the county. And that's what we're looking
Oh,
for.
yeah, okay.
Are we ready for a motion on that?
we're ready for a motion.
I will pass a motion that approval of the homeschool students can participate in CVHS athletics and all documentation has been submitted and verified.
Seconded.
Second, all in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye, it has been approved. Okay, now, policy discussions. Second reading of our revised policies. Mr. Scholl.
So there is actually a revision to the revision.
Yeah.
It's on your desk. There's policy IGA, IGD, IJJ that really have the extra revisions. What they had in here was they talked about board authorized selection committees. They took out the word board. So all it is now says is meeting of authorized textbook selection committees. That was just a clarification that the ADE wanted. This is between the first reading and the second reading. We're allowed to make changes, corrections, edits between the readings. So for policies IGA, IGD, and IJJ, asking you to do the policy services volume 35, number 2, corrections, And then the rest, the remaining policies would be as they were submitted prior.
And the main thrust of these was the public hearing requirement.
Well, it's actually, these would be board
Yeah.
committees,
Yeah.
which have open meeting, are subject to open meeting laws.
All the way through.
Yep.
Okay, any questions from Mr. Scholl? Of the, and we'll call this the revised copy.
Well, there's only 3 of the policies that we're discussing are on here.
For 3, yeah, the 3, this is 44, 45, and 46. 47 is as of the agenda.
Yes.
So these weren't, these don't seem to be labeled. Are those the ones that we're allowed to discuss, the ones that
You can discuss them all, but yeah, yes,
this supplement?
yes.
Okay.
And again, the only change between the first reading and second reading is removing the word board.
Got it.
So you can either refer to the policy advisory numbers or the policy letter designations, however you want to do it.
Numbers are a lot easier.
And let's see,
I
this,
do have a,
yeah, I'm sorry. Go
I have a
ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Regarding curriculum adoption. To what extent will this policy affect our curriculum?
I'm gonna have Cindy answer that because she's the one that really is in charge of those curriculum committees.
So the next time that we are adopting curriculum, we will have to create an agenda, post the agenda according to open meeting laws, take minutes during the meeting. It's a public meeting like any other meeting that way. So that's really how it changes it.
This is the committee itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because right now, if we're adopting new textbooks, for example, then we have principals make recommendations for committee members meet, they review a lot of materials. We talk about it with the board beforehand, kind of during, and then when they have a recommendation, we bring the recommendation to the board, and it's put on 60-day review at that time, and then 60 days later, we bring back a recommendation for purchase. So the only difference really is now we have to run those meetings like regular open meetings. So that's the big difference.
Okay, so with regard to prohibited instruction,
So prohibited instruction really just has to deal with it's that we can't include a program of instruction that promotes the overthrow of the government, promotes racism, or,
so
anything like that. And if it's designed primarily for students of a particular ethnic group, things like that. And so there's nothing in the prohibited instruction that is currently part of any of our adopted curriculum or instructional practices.
that's the answer to my
So we're
question.
okey dokey.
Okay.
Any other questions of either Cindy or John? Okay, isn't this an second reading? Don't we do the adoption now?
Yes, it is an action item.
Yeah, it didn't show it that way.
So-
That's why I thought I better check. Okay, so this is an action item. So do I have a motion to, somebody gets to read all those down the bottom?
Don't forget, the first 3 are the revised
Revised, yeah.
ones, yeah.
Let Mike do that.
So I gotta find it. So if you got it in front of you, go ahead,
Oh,
instead
okay.
of wasting some time.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I will approve the second reading of revised policies. Policy IGA curriculum development, policy IGD curriculum adoption, policy IJJ textbook supplementary materials selection and adoption, policy JLCD medicines administrating medicines to students, regulation JLCD-R medicines administrating medicines to students, exhibit JLCD-EB medicines administrating students to students, and that's a new one. So,
And you might want to just mention formally the revised
Okay,
policies on 44, 45, 46.
okay. And the revised policies in number 744, 745, and 746.
Okay, now do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, doke. Guess what? Second reading of the GCBDA staff housing and regulation, staff housing. Mr. Scholl.
We went over this last time. These are just basically the kind of the regulations, the procedures on how we are going to run the staff housing. It includes things like occupancy, eligibility, the rent, which just means it's going to be, you guys just did that, but it's going to be done annually in May. Utilities, the renter covers, the only utility is electricity, but there is no internet that they'd be responsible for, or TV. There's also information on alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Alcohol is allowed inside the unit. Drugs and weapons are not. Also, no smoking inside. We have pets, which are not allowed, parking, and maintenance. That's all addressed in this regulation. And then the housing is just a general policy that addresses the housing.
And we did a good discussion of this last month. Do we have any questions, comments? Doing that, hear a motion for agenda item 12B without reading it all again.
I will motion to approve a second reading of regulation GBEB-RA, firearms and weapons on district.
Wrong one.
Yeah.
Wrong
One
Oh,
prior.
Page before.
The governing.
Nope.
No.
No,
Go to the tab.
Oh, I'm
tab prior.
sorry.
page before, yeah.
There you go.
I get these pages mixed
Oh,
up.
yeah, all the way back.
I know. Okay, I will move to approve the draft policy of GCBDA staff housing and draft regulation GCBDA-R staff housing.
Very good. Okay, do we have a second?
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Agenda item 12C, second reading of regulation GBEB-RA. Mr. Scholl.
This is addresses firearms and weapons on district property, and this was changed to address the fact that we have 2 district employees that will be armed security officers, one at Territorial and one at Del Rio. Just to kind of give you an update on where we're at with that, we are partnering with the town of Chino Valley. They have always provided an officer as a school resource officer on their own funding. That typically, traditionally officer has been housed at Heritage Middle School and will continue to do so. And the town will continue to provide that officer to us. The district applied for and received a grant for 2 SRO positions. One of those will be at the high school. The police department has, we'll say, procured or identified an outside officer that's going to come in new to the department that is going to serve as the school resource officer for Chino Valley High School. Coincidentally, this officer has children in the school, and the wife is at Del Rio School, so we're excited kind of bringing somebody else in the family to Chino Valley Unified School District. He is going to start probably towards the end of August, middle of August. They're working on getting him onboarded. We also have another SRO position at Del Rio School that's grant funded. That is going to be our employee. It is a reserve officer with the Chino Valley Police Department. That's one of the requirements, is either they are a sworn officer or a reserve officer with a law enforcement agency. In this case, it's a former police officer who used to live on the high school campus for a little while. He is going to, he's a retired officer and is going to serve as the SRO, as a reserve officer at Del Rio School. And then our past SRO officer, our Jeff Pizzi, is going to be our security officer at Territorial School. We had one security guard on M&O. We're going to end up with one security officer on M&O It's gonna cost a little bit more, but he is going to be armed. So we should have an armed professional on each campus, either a police officer, a reserve police officer, or a district security officer.
Is he retired now? So we can
Yes.
hire him?
He starts Monday.
Great.
Yes. So this change in policy just addressed them having their weapons on campus.
Questions, comments?
So all 4 officers will be armed.
All 4 officers, 2 of them will be in police uniforms. The other 2 will be in a district security, polo jacket that says security on it, or security officer, or safety officer, something to that effect. But they will be clearly labeled as who they are, and they will be armed.
And their body armor.
Yes, and they will be wearing vests.
Yes, yes, that's what I was gonna ask.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
I move to approve Regulation GBEB-RA firearms and weapons and district property.
Second,
I was second.
all in favor? David approved. And it looks like I now need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Nope, just close it.
Oh, it's closed. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, kiddo.
Yeah, this is